Inside the 18, I'm Michael Magid, live from Palm Desert, California. With me, you know him as the czar of the virtual background, the one and only Pro GK Academy, Omar Zeenni. And the reason he's got that fantastic background, UVA women's goalkeeper coach Jake Davis is finally making his appearance on Inside the 18. Jake, I know this has been a long time coming, man.
Yeah, I'm excited to be on, Mike. It's been a long time. So I think we met last year around this time, actually, and I've been listening for a while. So it's finally good to get on. We jumped through a lot of hoops, but here we are.
I think it's always so funny. I think in the goalkeeping sphere, I think a lot of us know each other by the social media handles. So it's always just like you always see people who are commenting and always engaging in conversation, and then now obviously putting Jake Davis Soccer on the podcast now. It's like I can actually put it all together. It's nice to have you finally.
Well, let's kind of talk a little bit about Jake. If for those of you guys who might not be familiar, Jake is brilliant. He's a brilliant human being, a goalkeeping savant, as we'd like to say out there. But there's a lot of people out there who are listening overseas, Jake, and they don't know a lot about the college game here in the United States. Why don't you tell them a little bit about the level of UVA, and kind of your responsibilities there?
Well, the level on the women's side is growing here. It's been growing for the last few years, and I think really the best way to say it is that our players both get a great school, but they also play at a very high level. And we have a lot of players go pro every year. We have a lot of players who have come through that are just top quality. So I think it's an interesting aspect that they get a top quality school, but they also train at a really high level all year. So I think for a school wise, we're in the top 10 every year, and it shows based on the players that we get each year.
Yeah, and I think, Omar and I, we've discussed this a lot on the show in regards to a lot of people out there from overseas are actually now coming to the United States, right, Omar, to try to get this education, because especially on the women's side, the level of play at UVA, I mean, that's comparable to playing in a lower division or lower first division in a lot of countries.
Yeah, no, I think I would say, especially the ACC, where Jake and the University of Virginia, women's soccer is. I think you guys have probably like the highest level of play at that age level around the world. I would say that's why a lot of women will want to come to play in the States, is because obviously you want to extend your career, but also you want to play against the best players. And I think in the women's side, that's the case. And I think on the men's side, there's a little bit more disparity in terms of, like, I would say the East Coast teams, kind of like Duke or Wake Forest or those kind of schools, versus like where I went to school, UC Davis. There's a little bit more disparity there, unfortunately. But I think on the women's side, definitely, I see a lot of people wanting to come here and play. But on the men's side too, they want to, it's so cutthroat in Europe, and a lot of them are saying, you know what, I want to continue playing, but I'm not, sticking it out here. Let me see if I can go to the U.S. And you can see here at Stanford. I mean, Stanford's starting goalkeeper for the last 3 years is English, and now he might, get picked up in the MLS draft. And I don't know if he maybe would have stayed in England if his career would have flourished the way that it is. So I think college provides a lot of these players from overseas an opportunity to really extend their career and mature at different rates. And hopefully once they do get to that 21, 22 make or break time, they're ready to step into an MLS scene and break out there.
And one thing I want to bring up, in regards to with Jake, obviously, right here, is that for those a lot of people out there who are from overseas and not familiar, it's a little bit different with the universities here in the United States in regards to the facilities and the resources, because obviously, you have men's football, or just football in general, and men's college basketball, which are revenue generating sports here in the United States at the universities. The facilities that you have at UVA, are absolutely comparable to a professional setup.
Yeah, and I think on the women's side, probably even better. It's hard to say, but on the women's side, I don't think they're there quite yet. But we reap the benefits of a big school. We have a lot of money. We can invest into that kind of stuff. So just providing our players with probably better than what they'll see if they go on after is just it's a joy for sure.
Yeah, which is, go ahead.
No, Jake, I just wanted to ask you too, because I know we look at in England, the first division, and then we see Man City, we see, the top 4, top 5, maybe even top 6 now with Leicester City kind of creeping in there. But, those are the teams that really get the bulk of the players, like the best players. So do you feel like because you have like a Florida State or North Carolina in your guys' conference, like even just going head to head against them every year, those games, let's say, just do those mean even more because now you guys are all competing for the same players? Or do you feel like they get the cream of the crop?
I would say our conference is unique in that sense of that we have probably 9 good teams, 9 teams that could finish in the top half. So every game's a big game. There's no easy game. It's kind of like the Prem in some sense that, anyone can beat anyone, but you have those top teams, and it's the same way. You have these teams that are going to reach towards the top, and thankfully we're one of them. But each year it's 7, 8, 9 really hard games, and yes, they're all important because you want to look better. So then you can get those players. But I think there's more than just winning. Obviously you want to win all the games, but the kids are going to get attracted to how you play, your school, your staff. It's much more than that. But for sure, those big games definitely mean just a little bit more as well, as you say.
But by the way, I don't know what it is about whenever we have anybody on from the East Coast, they're always like on their porch.
It's dark inside. I was like, what do I do about this lighting? I was like, man, I can't have my bed in the background. I was like, what do I do about the lighting? I'm like, outside porch. Here we go.
Dude, I love it, man. And the funniest thing is, like, I remember when we met in Baltimore, Omar, how freezing it was outside. And like, when you're living in that little bubble of the convention or whatever, you're just assuming like, oh, it's very comfortable when you go outside. And dude, remember those walks, those 2-3 blocks?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Dude, even in Chicago, I mean, our hotel in Baltimore, for anybody, again, Mike, we try to paint the picture for them, but we had a hotel we had a hotel in Baltimore, which is probably like 2.5, 3 blocks away. And that walk every morning was hell. And I remember in Chicago too, I'm trying to remember Mike, where were we in Chicago? We were a good ways away as well. No? Oh no, I stayed with my buddy.
Yeah. You stayed with your buddy. So I stayed at the hotel nearby. Yeah.
No, but that was when Trevor James from Avail, he gave us this huge, what's it called? The Pro Deflect to sell.
Pro Deflect,
at our table. So I flew it to my friend's house, and I didn't fly it. They sent it there. I picked it up, and this poor Uber driver, I know he wanted to like get his rating up, and he always like helps people with their packages. And this thing had to be at least 85 to 90 pounds. And when he took it from my friend, I was like, dude, are you sure? He's like, I don't worry, I'll take care of it. And he tried to pick it up and put it in his car. And I think he just started dragging it, and then he lifted it in there. And I was kind of like, oh man, this is going to be hell when I have to drag it up the convention center. I hope it's going to be super close. Our table had to be at least a mile away from the entrance, and just carrying that thing up. And it was like 2 different escalators, escalator, walk 100 yards, escalator again. And it was just a pain. First world problems, I know, but it was just a very rough. But yeah, these conventions are great. I don't want to say anything too negative about them.
Well, it's funny that you say that, Omar, because the virtual convention will be coming up we're not going to do a plug right now. That'll be in the pre-roll, guys, for you guys to check out at United Soccer Coaches Convention. By the way, Sporting KC to goalkeeper coach Mitch Hildebrandt just put porch is where it's at on the East Coast. Don't have those in LA, pal. It's very true. We do not have that. And it's really awesome that Mitch is on here right now, because he's one of the people that have actually had this discussion in regards to video analysis. Omar, I know you've dabbled a little bit in video analysis in your day, I believe. I think you've posted a few, 1 or 2 videos maybe.
Yes, a lot.
in your life. And Jake, I know this is something that you really wanted to touch on, because there's a big difference in regards to posting sessions on social media and actually doing video analysis, which Omar, we want to give you your praises, because I think you do a great job of kind of, being a social media influencer, but at the same time, actually breaking down the content,
Yeah, and we've had conversations, Mike. I think a lot of times people have reached out and said, hey, we love the content you're posting, but there's not enough context. Like, you need to understand what the viewer, whether it's a parent, whether it's a young goalkeeper, whether it's a goalkeeper coach, somebody who wants to hire you as a goalkeeper coach. If you just post these videos without any context, I don't have any idea as to why you're putting these goalkeepers through, 40 reps in let's say 10, 15 minutes. Well, that's their off season. Okay, well, you should have written that. So I think video analysis, especially too, when we sit back and watch with our goalkeepers, context, what minute of the game it was. Were you guys up? Were you guys down? What was the momentum like? All of those, I think, context triggers are very important for us to understand when we sit with our goalkeepers and break down the footage.
Now, Jake, for some people out there, maybe there's some parents out there who don't understand what we're referring to, because there are a lot of parents, that are listening to the show right now. What do we mean by video analysis when it comes to goalkeeping?
Yeah, I think there's a broad spectrum of things that you can mean with that. And really, in the simplest way is using the film that you take as a tool to learn. So anything that you film, using that as then a way to learn from those actions. So that can be in the game training, that can be on the field, that can be anything. So whatever you film, then going back later and then to look at that and to really to use it to learn. Because I think a lot of people, as you say, they might post things to look good, but really you want to use this video to then either make the session better, you want to make the player better, you want to make yourself better as a coach. But if you just post it to post it, you're not using that as a tool to improve. So really, what the important part about it is filming whatever it is and then using that as a tool.
And I want a lot of people out there to hear that, and especially Omar, I want you to comment on this, because there's a lot of younger pro goalkeepers or younger amateur goalkeepers out there that are starting to post their sessions. They're starting to post their content, but they're using it more to showcase how great they are rather than as an educational tool. What advice do you kind of give them, Omar, to kind of start steering it in the right direction and understand, like, hey, that's great. I mean, we want you to showcase how much you're benefiting from your training and all that, but also we want people to be able to benefit from it more than just eye candy.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's important too, after you finish the session, when you watch the footage, like understand, okay, if this person or a parent, again, if a player is watching this on social media, what can they take away from this? What did I take away from this? I think a lot of times it's just like a vlog series. When you're talking to the camera, being transparent, being honest. I would probably do a session and I would talk to the camera before I released it, and I would say, hey guys, I ran this session and I was, looking for a little bit of reminders. I felt like I jumped a little too much on the last session. And now you start showing people your last session, and they can come along on the journey with you and see you progress. So I think instead of like a popularity thing, it's more of just understanding, hey, I would rather have you guys watch, and I want to be accountable to people so I can continue to post my content, but I can also too teach you guys or help you guys learn through all the mistakes that I'm making. And I think once you kind of like bridge that gap of, okay, I want to showcase myself, but I also want to help other people. When you have those two meet, I think the intent is the right approach. And then once you have that intent going the right way, you provide more context. And through that context, I think you learn a lot about yourself as a goalkeeper, and the players and people who are watching you can also take bits and pieces from your game as well.
But by the way, I want to say this, Jake, and feel free to step in anytime you want. We can interrupt Omar anytime we want. That's the way it works on the show, because he will interrupt you as well. Is that as I've seen the maturation of your content, over the last year since we met in Baltimore. And I think one of the things that was really cool, and I think a lot of us have learned a lot, during this quarantine or whatever, is that you've started posting not necessarily just the final action or the greatest highlights of the session, but you've shown the messiness of your sessions as well too.
Yeah, I think it's important to know why you're filming what you film. And I mean that in the sense of like, what angle are you getting? Where are you filming from? Are you wanting to show the whole field? Are you wanting to see the goalkeeper's feet? Are you wanting to see their hand? Do you want to see their set shape? So really that's going to change on where you film from. Because if you have let's say a drone, right? You have a drone and you're filming with a drone.
Well,
yes,
not everyone's got that UVA budget, but yeah, okay, I see how.
But so that's good in one sense. But if I'm wanting to look at the goalkeeper's feet in that action, the drone's going to do me no good. So you're filming with this drone and it looks pretty and you're seeing the entire field. But if my purpose for the goalkeeper was to look at their set shape, the video is useless. It's not a tool anymore. It just looks good. So for me, it's how can I best improve my goalkeepers, improve the goalkeeper. It could be anybody. It could be anybody in the world. So you have to have that why of, why am I filming this? And then you're going to go on, okay, where should I film from? And at times for me, it's going to be from more than one angle, because I'm going to use it for different reasons. One, I want to see the big picture. So I'm going to have something that, like a drone, like a GoPro, that's going to show a big picture. But then I'm also going to have a smaller camera that's going to see kind of those finer details. And those finer details might not make sense if I just post it. So that's not going to make any sense, because you're only going to see the final action. But maybe that's what I want to show the goalkeeper. So for me, you have to have a reason for doing it, and the reason should be to improve the goalkeeper. You're also going to have these reasons. Okay, you want to share your sessions, you want to improve as a coach, you want to improve as a player. So you're going to have multiple views and multiple angles. But if you only post what looks pretty, or you only film what looks pretty, you're not going to then use that to improve your goalkeeper. I think for me, I've taught the most on the bad actions, on things that don't look good, on okay, you should have smothered and you didn't, or you should have used your feet and you went with your knee, or you should have used your right hand and you went with your left. Those are the moments that you can use the video and you can really teach, and you can improve the goalkeeper that way instead of just making it look good.
And I'm glad you brought that up right there, because, Omar, I know this is a discussion that we've had in the past in regards to, hey, we can get this film crew for you to do this and that. And you've always kind of been the belief is that you kind of want to have a little bit of that autonomy, because if you just trust a film crew to film your content out there, who are regardless, they could be Scorsese, if they don't know goalkeeping and they don't know your intent with it. So you kind of, Omar, have to kind of be the director of your own film in order to get the picture and the vision that you want to get across to the audience, right?
Yeah, and I mean, most of my sessions that I write out when I do want to film, I always put a little camera emoji with I draw it out where I would want the camera to be, and most of the time it's behind the goal, because again, if you want to improve as a coach and you want to see how you're striking the ball, if let's say you're making a correction about a bad error from the goalkeeper, but you're never letting them get set and you're always striking, seeing you strike the ball and your timing with comparison where the goalkeeper is prior to your shot is very, very important. You can learn from both. So for me, I've always learned to put the camera behind the goal so you can see the goalkeeper's technical actions. At the same time, too, you can see your distribution and kind of how you want to improve or your timing on service. But I think I want to go back to something that Jake said. I think it's really important. Obviously, understanding why you're filming and where you want the camera to be, what's your angle with the session is very important. And I think a lot of people need to do that more often, is understand that work backwards. You know what I mean? There's no reason for you to try and become popular on social media if your goalkeepers aren't going to get better. And I think that's our biggest beef with a lot of these people on social media, is they don't have an angle to make anybody but themselves look good. So I think if you can just film your session and then work back to try and make the content that you filmed that helped your goalkeepers, then, spice that up and give that a little bit of a little tailor here and there on the editing platforms. I think you can do that versus going in there trying to get these amazing footage and top corner saves where you're tossing the ball early and you're doing slow motion. And I think, again, if you can kind of work backwards and go from your end goal and work back, I think that's the best way to do it.
I think there's a difference of sharing something and then making a video to then share. So I think you would want to share your session. You don't want to create the video to then share. Run your session as you would to make the players better. And then if you want to share that, that's great for the rest of the world, because then I'm going to learn as a coach, a 12-year-old that he's going to see it and he's going to learn as well. But we shouldn't then create a session to then post to say, okay, how can I make this player better? If I want to use film in that, that's great. If I can then share that for the rest of the world, that's probably even better. So I think there's a clear difference between the two.
100%. Yeah, exactly.
Jake, I love what you just said right there, because I think one of the mistakes, and I've even made it in the past when I've tried to film a session intentionally, is now you're in your head when you're running the session, because you're more focused on Where's the camera? Oh, this wasn't what I was trying to get on footage of. Oh no, we're not going the right direction. Oh, the player's not as good as I thought they were. Yada yada yada. And now you're not in the moment. And it's the same thing as like when being present in a session versus looking at your phone. Wondering when your next session with the good kids are coming. And let's be honest, we've all been there before. We've all been in that situation before where we're running a session and we're like, 20 more minutes with this guy, and then the DA kids come. Cool, we can we can do that. And you don't want to be like that. I think one thing that I want to do, and then I want to start showing some of your sessions right there, so you can show up, Omar. Is no one can show up, Omar. Is discuss analytics, because I think what I'm hearing from a lot of coaches out there is that, yeah, I have the stats, I already have this raw data. I don't need to go back and watch the film because I already, and I'm hearing it a lot from non-goalkeeper coaches. I'm hearing it from head coaches, especially at the club level. I think who just from a time standpoint, they don't want to go back and maybe they don't understand goalkeeping and they don't really want to look at those saves.
Yeah, I think video for game footage for me is probably where I teach the most, because in a game setting, I was thinking about this earlier when we were when I was thinking about what to say is, okay, during a game, I'd probably coach for about 95 seconds, right? I have the halftime and I do not get a lot of time with my goalkeeper there. And I'm not going to give her too much information, right? I got about probably the walk from the field to then the locker room. So I'm going to walk slow and I'm going to milk as much time as I can to try to get some information into the goalkeeper. So I got about 90 seconds, right? Maybe a little bit more. And if I try to teach all that, everything that I just saw in the first 45 minutes in that, the goalkeeper is going to struggle because I just bombarded them with so much information. So I look at it, okay, how can I use the video? So pretty much in the game, I'm not going to coach much. I'm going to give her a tip here too, but really after the game is when most of the coaching is done. And I'm going to use the video there to then reinforce what I'm saying, because the goalkeeper is going to say, oh, I felt this, I felt that. And they did, because they feel things while they play. Okay, I thought this player was open. I felt like I should play her. Now here's the video. Here is the player not open and you're giving her the ball, so now it's a fact. It's not okay, I saw this and you saw that. You did see this, but this is what happened, or the angle, I felt like I should have stayed deep. Well, here's the video. Maybe you should go a little bit further out, and really using the video in that sense to almost have a fact check, like this is what happened. This is the game, because, it happened a few days ago. Now let's go over it. How do we improve the goalkeeper? It's by showing them, okay, you did this, maybe you should have done this, or you did this, think about maybe doing this action instead. And really using the video in that aspect is super helpful.
Omar, I want to ask us about you, because one of the things, obviously you're very savvy when it comes to filming sessions, so you might have a little bit of a different perspective about it. But I know that personally, I've had situations in the past where I've made coaching points in the heat of the game, and then I've gone back and looked at and done video analysis on my own, and realized, oh my gosh, I gave the wrong coaching points there. I gave the wrong information because I only had that snippet of what just happened in that moment, and I didn't really get a chance to really see what was going on. How do we as coaches go back and kind of backpedal, or say, you know what, after looking at this again, I'm seeing it from a different perspective, without losing the trust of the goalkeeper? Because I think that's one of the biggest issues that a lot of young coaches have.
Yeah, I mean, I want to say I agree 100% to what Jake just said. I think video is there to reinforce, whether it's conversations you guys had in the training ground about the scouting report, and you guys developed the language throughout the week that, you can make your points in those 95 seconds or those short windows. You can actually, say one or two words that mean a lot more than those just one or two words, because you've done the legwork throughout the week. But then I think when it comes to what you're saying, Mike, I think less is more. And I think that's one thing that my head coach at Cal State LA taught me is, don't over correct or always try to make a point or always try to show the goalkeepers that what you're talking about. Sometimes not saying something is better, because now you don't have to backtrack. You don't, my coach one time told me, he's like, yes, the goalkeeper is starting this weekend, but you're not going to tell them that. Because what happens if, if something happens, they had a bad week and we've already said just to make them happy, hey, you're starting. And now we've lost them if we put somebody else in. Something as small as that. And I think less is more as a coach, and don't always feel the need to make a point. Sometimes there's no points to be made. Sometimes a goalkeeper understands if they just made a mistake. There's no reason for you to go, yeah, you can't do that. That's not an error that a starting goalkeeper does. Of course they know that. So just let them be. And I think, again, the film, like Jake said, reinforces what we already know. And then once you're able to watch that film, I think right there, that really builds your credibility, and it actually gives you more like confirmation and affirmation of what you're saying to these goalkeepers. And I think as goalkeeper coaches, we always want to come from a side of confidence. And that film gives you that confidence in knowing that what you saw is what you saw, or what you saw is not what you kind of conjured up in your head.
Yeah. And go ahead, Jake.
I think that's a really good point that you made, that you don't want to say the wrong thing in the moment. But I think on the flip side of that is it's okay to do that at times and say, okay, I told the goalkeeper this in the moment, but now as we're watching the film together, agree with them. Okay, maybe you were right in this moment. And it takes a lot of pride to do that, but you're going to gain the trust even more that way, is to use the film for you as well. Because a lot of times I'm striking the ball. So I'd be lying to both of you if I saw everything. I missed most of it. That's why I do a lot of coaching after, because I can't see their set shape. I might have I'll try, I'll try my best. But if I'm serving, if I'm striking the ball, most likely I'm going to miss what's happening those few seconds prior, because my head's down. So I'm open and honest with them. Is, I didn't see that. I can tell you what I think, but I really didn't see it. Let's look at it later. And I think it takes a lot of pride in that aspect to then say, okay, I was wrong in this moment, or maybe you were right. It's not one or the other. It can be, okay, let's use the film to show that you were right, and then to use the film to show, okay, maybe you can make this just a little bit better. I think it works both ways.
Definitely. I think.
Go ahead, Omar.
No, I think pride definitely has stunted a lot of careers as coaches before they ever get going. I think sometimes, as a young coach myself, even in college and just training on my own private stuff, I would always feel like there was a technical correction. I had to make a point because that's why I was the coach, or that's why they're paying me for these sessions. And again, like Jake said, it's good to make those mistakes. So I'm not on here trying to tell you guys that it's horrible if you say something to a goalkeeper and you have to backtrack, or you have to raise your hand in this film session and say, hey, it's my bad, I saw it differently. You have to do that. Like, it's going to happen. So I'm not trying to discourage you, but I think it's a part of your process. But let's try to be more on the side of, hey, I bit my tongue and I didn't say something in the session. And like you said, Jake, the rule of thumb would probably just be saying, I didn't see it, or even during a halftime conversation, hey, I didn't see it. It may have been on, it may have been off. Maybe you were a little bit too on your near post. It may have, I don't know. But let's watch it. Let's watch it in the office tomorrow. We'll have a conversation then. I think once you're able to defer to the video, and if it's a glaring mistake, okay, you gotta make a point. But if it's something that you can say, hey, let's delay this conversation until we have all the facts and I've had a chance to watch it, that's perfect. Because I think, again, too, you have another half to think about. These goalkeepers are going to be stepping in, and if that situation comes up again, and you made a coaching point that wasn't a coaching point, or you tried to force something, now you're in their subconscious and their conscious movements in games, and you don't want that. You want them to be freely on instinct, and I think that's important.
Jake, I have a question for you in regards to what you share with the goalkeeper, because I think this is a mistake that a lot of young goalkeeper coaches make, is they share everything with the goalkeeper, as opposed to kind of picking and choosing what is, I don't want to say necessary for them to see, but what's going to benefit them moving forward in their development. Is that a situation you've ever been in? Yeah,
I think you can analyze the game too much. That's definitely, you can do that. You can watch a video, you can watch a play and watch it 10, 15 times, and you can come up with a different answer every time. And so there's a sense of watching too much video. And there's also the sense of, okay, you can't not look at it because you need that video to learn. So really picking out trends in the game, instead of looking at just every action that you make, what are the trends that are happening? All right, are you playing to your left-hand side more often than not? And then not completing that pass. Okay, that's now a trend. So that's happened 5 or 6 times. So let me show you one clip on that shows, okay, this is the trend of the game. Like, this is happening. But I'm only going to show you one clip, because if we look at 5 clips, I'm just going to be in your head, okay, now I can't do this, now I can't do this. But if I show them one important clip on that aspect of that trend, that's going to help them in the long run.
Yeah, I want us to move in and start checking out some of your video. Oh, go ahead, Omar.
Mike, and I just want to add something to that. I think, again,
Yeah.
if anybody takes anything from what Jake just said, the word trends is probably, that's the $1 million answer right there. I think that's literally everything we do from a goalkeeping perspective, from a coach, is, okay, I saw that one mistake, or I saw that, for a goalkeeper that I work with, he starts very, very narrow, and then when he catches the ball, he jumps wide and he gets stuck. He's like, anything that's outside his bubble, he can't reach to. And it's a very basic technique, but I see it once and I go, okay, I can make a point, but let me just stay quiet for a few minutes and then let it accumulate. Because if it happens once, it's probably going to happen again. And I think, like we talk about, discipline and being stubborn as a coach to let things play out so that the trends can kind of come out themselves and come out naturally and organically. That's super important. So then as it goes across, like you said, using that video to reinforce your point, like, hey, I noticed this on rep 1, rep 5, you did it again, rep 7, you did it again. So what is it about me? Am I touching the ball a little too far out? Is that triggering you to jump wide? Am I taking 2 touches? Is that what's triggering you to do it? And then you see the footage and you start adding things up. And then from there, now you come to them with a conversation of, here's the package of what I'm going to show you, and tell me what you feel in those moments. So now you're showing them actual video evidence of trends that are occurring, versus you stopped it on the first rep. You didn't allow them to do it naturally again. And now you're just in their head, and now they're trying to fix something they've never actually understood. So showing them the trends, it's non-negotiable. Like, this is what's happening. You may not feel it. This is what I'm showing you. Let's try to fix this. So trend is super important. I think everything you do as a goalkeeper coach is looking for those trends. And then over the season as well, you start picking up different trends and you start seeing which goalkeepers are willing to learn and progress, or which goalkeepers are going to hear about those trends and they don't have the bandwidth or the capacity in their head to make any adjustments.
So right now, what I want to do, Jake, is I want you to share a little bit of some of your sessions, and I kind of want to, because we're kind of talking in concept right now, and I think that one thing that would be really beneficial to the audience right now is if we kind of show your process. So like, let's put a little bit of film up there, and maybe you do a little match analysis, paint the picture, show the match analysis of how you would go about approaching it with the goalkeeper, if that's cool with you.
Sure. Let me try.
And while you're doing that, while you're sharing your screen right now, Omar, in regards to your thing about conversation, I think that's a really valid point. And a former MLS goalkeeper actually just posted in a private thread. He said the thing is that you want to have the conversation. You want to talk. You don't want to have the intention of teaching, because if you come across it from the intention of teaching, then you're going to be looking for things to break down, rather than just have a conversation based on what is happening in the moment, if that makes any sense.
No, it does. And I just, before we get into this, Jake, I just want to say one more thing. I was texting with Chris Sharp from the Rapids a month ago, and I was telling him what, a mistake that I saw from one of my goalkeepers. And he says, Omar, do you critique the goalkeepers from the way you played the game, or do you critique them from the way that they play the game and the way they see themselves in the game? And I said, honestly, I think a lot of times I hold them to the standard that where I played and kind of what I would have done. And he was like, that's completely, I'm not saying, he's like, it's not invaluable, or it's not, there's no value in that. There is. But what I'm trying to tell you is you need to understand the limitations, the explosiveness, what physical attributes, what psychological attributes, like Jake said, what trends these goalkeepers are accumulating over the entire season. And then that's what you kind of gear and package what you're going to say to these goalkeepers. So I think that's very important, to see them, how they play and what their strengths are versus what you would do, and then trying to almost have them equate to the way you have a vision for the position.
Yeah, try to emulate that, because at one point you're going to want to hopefully that player will then become better than you are. And I think that's what's happened to me. I'm coaching players now that are a lot better than I am. I didn't play at this level. They're much better goalkeepers than me. So if I tried to tell them everything that I did, every ball would would be in the back of the net. So I have to.
You just show them
allow
old video
to
footage of yourself, Jake, and just go, just don't do that. Just
letting the ball go in the back of the net. It's like, don't do that. Like we have to use this video to make them better instead of trying to have them emulate something that just isn't the product that we want, you know.
Absolutely.
You want to improve them. So my point is that the video should be used to improve the goalkeeper. So really showing them, you know, hard instances that they might not see, but they need to then improve.
Yeah. So what do we got going on right here? Why don't you paint this picture right here so we kind of see?
I found this clip just because I think it shows kind of what I was talking about when you're as a goalkeeper coach, you might not see everything. So I made a coaching point here on this goal. But I to be honest, I shot the ball. I'm right here. I shot the ball and the ball went in the back of the net. What I thought happened did, but it wasn't the reason the ball went in the goal. So I was able then to look at it later on and say, no, okay, here's what actually happened. And I think it's a good view that you can see if you record, if you go back and watch, you can then see why these actions happen. So I'll just let this play out one time and then we'll go back for it.
Okay.
It might skip a little bit. I hope not. My computer sounds like it's gonna blow up.
No, it's looking solid right now, man. It's all good. Oh, there's a hammer though. You hammered it.
So that went in the back of the goal, right? But I'll freeze it right when I.
Well, why don't you paint the picture for people who are listening just to the podcast, just so that they know what we're discussing right here.
All right. So it's a one-touch pass back, and then they go cut back, and then the ball is played about 16 yards out, and I have a first touch, and there's a mannequin in the way so that they can't have a clear sight at the ball. That's really the purpose of this mannequin here. And as I'm about to strike the ball, next one. Sorry, that was a good save.
Yeah, it was.
Next one.
Nice touch, the inside hand. Right.
Same thing. The ball gets played through the top of the box. I'm looking down at this moment, right?
Yeah.
I'm looking down. But as I watch this video, you look at the goalkeeper's left foot. She moves to the left side first, thinking I'm going to curl the ball to her left. And that takes her momentum away. Mm-hmm. And now she's just a wee bit late. You know, she gets both hands on it. She's really close to it. So if she had stayed a little bit more central here, and this foot's on the ground, she's going to make that save. It's a little detail. Impossible for me to see. I can't see without the video. So now, as I look at that, you know, as a coaching point, I might say, okay, your positioning is not as good. You know, you're a step too far. But if I look at the video, I see it's just her weight. She moves to her left side just too early. Instead of staying set where she was, a little bit too narrow here, she should open up, and then she's going to make that save. So just a little detail there.
And what
I'm going to go on the back
go ahead,
of the
Omar.
goal.
So Jake, also too, what I want to bring up, and those who are listening, so Jake actually accidentally showed us the rep prior to this. I think he wanted to make a point about her shifting, but he showed us the rep prior to this. And what you guys will see, I mean, what you'll hear here is the goalkeeper gets a pass on top of the 6, plays it to the person who played it to them, cross steps all the way across the goal to the near post, gets a cut back, gets down, makes that save, rolls it back to the winger. Then they play it to Jake, and now there's a mannequin separating the near post and the far post. So as the goalkeeper gets back here on that first clip, Jake, she cheats and gets away with it. So she starts shifting behind the mannequin and then is able to get to this top corner one to her left because she cheats it a little bit. So then again, we talk about the trends from the goalkeeper. What about the trends from the striker? So right, That's also one too, is that like she came on that last save, she got away with it, she made the save, and now she's playing you as a striker and saying, all right, well, I think I got my near post covered. So if he goes to that far post, I got to be able to shift my feet. But if he comes back to my near post, I can also get my feet into the ground as well. But like you said, she keeps shifting a little bit too much because of the save she just made. and now she pays for it as you come back across this way. So I'm just saying, like, if we play against like really, really good strikers, or like even myself, when I'm doing what you're doing, Jake, and we're trying to strike the ball and like give them different looks, if I know I'm buttering them up, and you play tennis, right? Tennis, they play the ball back and forth, the same rally to the right side, and they're saying, oh wow, this is an easy hit back and forth, backhand, and then you see like Federer who closes it back across his body, and now you're saying, oh my God, he set Nadal up because he kept playing it to that same side over and over and over. So I think it's simply like this too, is just like making sure you put yourself in a very, very good position, that you're not overcompensating or leaving yourself vulnerable going one way. And you could always, sometimes you'll get away with it though, like we did on that first shot here.
By the way, Omar, that was absolutely brilliant. The fact that you picked that up. I had not caught that, which is why you're so much better at this than I am. But I mean, that was absolutely just phenomenal, because in regards to the fact is that, Jake, when I was looking at that, when I was looking at the strike initially, I was just thinking from a shape standpoint that I was whatchamacallit. Sorry, the text just came through and I just lost my train of thought because the text came through and I heard that ding thing. So but basically what I was saying is that shape made me think that you were going to go across again away, and I would have got caught cheating as well too. Was that intentional in regards to your body shape, or was that just what happened in the moment?
I think it just happened in the moment. And as you can see here, this is the same exercise. That's the same exact day, just filmed from a different area. So I'm using both areas. So here's the exact same save, right? She makes that, ball goes to me. So if I only have this video, I don't see what Omar just posted, right? I don't see that because that you can only see that from behind. I can't really see her cheating right here. So I think it's extremely valuable to know where you're filming from prior, because you have to know what you want to see and why you want to see that. Because if I only had this one, I'm going to think, yes, that's a brilliant save. You know, she's right there. But you can start to see her move early, but it's not as clear. You know, for the players, you have to show them what's clear. You know, she's going to think this is a great save. But
this is this exact same scenario, the exact same play, right?
Exact same. Yep, exact same. Filmed at the exact same time. Just one camera's behind, one's here. So yeah.
People who are listening, we're showing Jake has an angle now on the attacking right side, the goalkeeper's left side, and the camera prior was behind the goal. So this one's a little bit more front visual. You can still see the goalkeeper and you can still see Jake striking the ball. But now you don't get to see that, whether it's depth or whether it's that quick little shift. You don't get to really see that because of the distance, but also just the angle. I think if you look at it, her feet are like together and there's no like staggered position which you can't notice from here. So we can't really tell if she's shifting early or not. It's like very like right on top of each other. So you don't even know which one's moving first.
I think what's brilliant about this is it's also showing is that based on the angle, you might have a completely different point of view or perspective on the coaching point because of the way that you're seeing it, you know? So it makes me even think about just the fact is like when we're on the sidelines as a coach, you know, during a match, you know, it's a very, very different perspective than the goalkeeper seeing, you know, and if we're going to coach based on that perspective, you know, we're doing a disservice to the goalkeeper.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's extremely valuable to show them instances that are clear. You know, it can't be this should happen, you know, this might happen, but you know, this was clear. This clearly happened, and they can learn from it.
Yeah. I want to ask this, Jake, because there's a question in here from Hector Castro, and it's something that I've been thinking about in regards to how young is too young to do video analysis. Should we do this with the little guys, or is it just too much?
That's a good question. A really good question. It depends really how in depth you go, you know, again, really going back to why you're doing it. If you're filming your session as a 12-year-old because you love playing and you want to see your saves over and over, there's extreme value in that because you're growing to love the game. If you're critiquing every little movement, then okay, you're just gonna burn yourself into it. You're gonna say, oh, I did this wrong, I did this wrong. But if you're saying I love what I do, I'm gonna watch myself over and over, there's real value in that. So I don't think there's necessarily an age, but there's a why behind it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think Omar's got like 5-year-olds that, he shows film to.
No, I think, I mean, that's the, I think if you ask any goalkeeper coach or any professional player or anybody at that highest level, even players who didn't make it to that level, you start asking them questions about like, when did you start watching games intentionally, whether your games, professional games on TV, and they'll tell you from a very young age. Most people will. And when you're able to like sit there and watch those games and like not be overly critical, but just like we talk about, say that's why the the word trend is so important. And it's like when you start watching these different trends and you start realizing that like Peter Schmeichel does not play the exact same way as Allison. So you can't judge them on the same scale, and different eras as well. So you can't judge them on the same scale either. So you start noticing like what they did well and what they didn't do well. And I think if you're able to just watch what you do well and what you don't do well, there's going to be little reminders along the way. And then right here for me as well, it's like just little, minor technical corrections. If that's a cutback, I used to notice for me when it was a cutback situation, as the ball got to the striker, I would come across the goal and my hips would rise. So that when the ball was being struck, I was attacking the ball from super, super high. So when I started watching my own film and training, I started realizing, damn, okay, maybe if I just get into a more neutral position, drop my hips a little bit more, I won't have to reset from the high position to a low position, and I won't be late for those low balls. So I gotta just for 10 seconds give myself like as much strength as I can in my quads to keep myself my head steady and keep myself at a good weight. But if I didn't watch professional goalkeeping and all that stuff, I wouldn't even know what to look for. I wouldn't even know what to understand. Or like, has a professional goalkeeper gotten beat like that before? Has someone had to pay for it at the next level? Am I making a correction now that won't help me in the future? So all those little things like that are really important. But like Jake said, understanding why you're watching the film. If you want to grow up and you want to see how you were at 10 years old, and you want to just see how you progress as a goalkeeper to see what your technique was, that's one reason. If you just want to see yourself make saves and post on social media, another reason. But understand and be intentional about what that reason is.
By the way, Jake, I can tell now it's now the witching hour there.
It's getting a little loud outside.
it's
a little dark.
It's all good, man. I saw when all of a sudden it just went to that black center. I was like, oh no, did we lose him? Is there like a storm coming in or something like that?
I was like, that's the best way to move spots. I know we were just talking about the balcony, so I was like, okay, let me go inside.
You got to get the multiple angles on the podcast. Is the way it goes. Now we can pick and choose the best Jake Davis angles for the podcast. There was a question here, and actually this is kind of leading into a breakdown that Omar did from Nick Bogman, and he hears that Melier is from Leeds is one of your favorite goalkeepers, and he wants to know what qualities stand out from his game. And the reason I want to ask you that now, based on that, is because Omar did do a fantastic breakdown of Melier earlier in the Premier League season. So I think you could juxtapose why you did that breakdown, Omar, and why you feel about those qualities, Jake.
Yeah, I think he's fantastic with his feet. Obviously he's young and he's going to make the wrong decision sometimes. And I think that goes back to using the film for sure. I think my goalkeeper that I coach here, she's tremendous with her feet, but it's the kind of thing where you can't make a mistake in those sorts of environments. You're going to get punished if you do. So using the video for that aspect of, okay, who's the best option to play and when is the best option to play, that is super important. So for me, his feet are incredible. And he's young as well, so he's only going to get better.
So Omar, add on.
No, I mean, again, he's playing in a system where we talk about teams who come up in promotion for the Premier League, and most teams will kind of just bottle it in and play, park the bus. But the Bielsa system is just play through the goalkeeper and let's give as many chances as we can for him to make a play as a quarterback back there. So like Jake said, there's going to be opportunities where he's going to break the lines, which I think he's had an assist or like multiple opportunities to get an assist. The strikers just missed the one-on-ones. But he's also had issues where he's played the ball into really, really bad areas. And then from there, they've either scored or there was a free kick because of that. And the defense is, recovering back and they have to foul someone and that leads to a goal. So it's important to understand the system of play that they're playing in at the same time to understand as a player now, okay, that's a system, but if I were to play in that kind of system, what decisions should I make? What is he doing right? What is he doing wrong? So I think, again, it's always understanding what system the goalkeeper is in, what are their best attributes. Okay, let me take the best and filter all the bad parts out, learn from the bad parts, but see what can I learn from their like best strengths so that I can be a very versatile goalkeeper. So if I play like I did at UC Davis, where I love using my feet, but our coach didn't like playing like that, we're going to put the ball over to our 6'4" forward and figure it out from there. Okay, but I always was just so curious about stuff that I knew if I stepped into a professional environment or a system where I could play with my feet, I know what to do because I've seen guys like, Van der Sar, what their technique is like, where they're playing the ball in the 90th minute. If they're up 1-0, if they're down 1-0, what are they doing with the ball? So it's just all those little things, and you need to understand that those are tools that you're refining over time, and you never know when you're going to need to use them.
By the way, Omar, is there a rule in the Big West that like if a goalkeeper makes a pass like shorter than 25 yards, the coach is going to yank them from the game? Because it seems like in the Big West, goalkeepers are just like they're like, I don't know, I have to play it at least past midfield. Like that's what I have to do every single time, dude.
It's honestly though, it's so funny. We played against Cal Poly, and Cal Poly San Luis Obispo it's like a very, very narrow field on a football field, but they're known to play out of the back and take risks ever since I was there till now. And I remember one time we beat them 2-1 or 1-0. And their coach was not shy. He said in the press, he was just like, yes, we lost today, but only one team played true football today. And I remember thinking that, and I was just like, do people think that we like suck or like that we're not good? and that opened my eyes to realize, oh crap, our coach wants us to play ugly and wants us to be up 1-0 or tied 0-0 or barely down 1-0 in the 75th and on. So that was his tactic. I mean, we won the Big West this year, but I think that's it was a weird year, but still, it was one of those situations where I was like, damn, okay, we probably don't play the best soccer. I should probably stop bragging about us winning these tight games.
Guys, basically what we're trying to say on the men's side, if you're like a 6'4", 6'5", central striker, just start contacting the Big West schools. They will be very interested in you. They
will find you. You'll be a utility guy. They'll find a way to use you for sure.
But I've never played. But I'm a basketball player. I've never played soccer. They're like, don't worry, we'll just throw you in like during a set piece. Like we'll find a way. You can come here.
Hey, Jimmy Graham played basketball at Miami at the U, and then ended up playing in the NFL now as a tight end. So hey, you never know what. And Akeem Olajuwon was a goalkeeper himself, and he became one of the best basketball players that ever played the game. So you could always find ways to translate those fundamentals to the sport you want to play.
Exactly. Like Michael Magid was a below average point guard in basketball, and he was able to take those skills and translate that.
That's why you're a good host. That's why you're a good podcast host, because you know who needs to eat, you know who needs to get the mic. You do a good job at that.
Oh man, I think I still might hold the record for like fouling out the quickest in like a JV basketball game. I think pretty sure that was me. I was very excited. It was my first JV game, and I was just so excited to be out there. You're not supposed to wrestle people, guys.
Bruce is probably just like he came alone. I don't know how he's getting home.
Poor Bruce just stopped coming to those games. He was just like, hey, I think I got a meeting that night. I think that's how that worked out. Getting back to the topic though, Jake, is one of the things that I think is being brought up by a lot of people here is they're talking about software programs. I know Stan Anderson had talked about this, when we did our Christmas special. I'm sorry, holiday special. Just whoops, I have to edit that out. You don't necessarily need to buy these high level packages. Obviously, you have the resources at UVA, but if you're a youth club and everything like that, how can you do this on a budget?
Yeah, I think there's ways that you can do it for free, and there's ways that you can spend a lot of money, and it's not right or wrong. It's really what fits your needs best. I think iMovie is free if you have a Mac. I mean, I do a lot of stuff on iMovie that I want to share. I mean, you have stuff that you can pay for, but I don't think you need all of that. It's nice if you have it, obviously, makes things a little bit quicker, but just finding ways so that the players can watch themselves. If that's through a text, if that's through an app that you have, if that's a link, you know, whatever way that you can get the goalkeeper to watch themselves and then to go over that video, it's extremely valuable.
You know, but you just brought up a really good point in regard to goalkeepers watching themselves, because Omar, I know this is a conversation that we've had in the past in regards to, should the goalkeeper coach watch film with the goalkeeper at the youth level, or should the goalkeeper watch film on their own, or should it be a combination of the two? And how do you feel about that, Omar?
No, it's got to be a combination of the two. I
Okay.
don't think from conversations that I've had with other goalkeeper coaches at like higher levels, they're just like, yeah, it's do your best to avoid blanket statements. Do your best to avoid absolutes. There's never going to be an absolute. One day you're going to have one goalkeeper that's going to love watching film with you because they want to pick your brain and just have a conversation. And other goalkeepers, you know, they just want to have their own time to watch themselves and figure out what they did wrong without any outside influences or outside voices, so they can really construct their own opinion. And then they'll come to you and consult about their opinion and see where your opinion is, and then level those two out and see if they can find a middle ground. So it just depends on who you kind of come across. And I think it's important to keep an open mind that some goalkeepers may like it with you, and some people, you know, like to do it on their own.
By the way, I just want to let everybody know right now, I just got a WhatsApp from my mom. My mom lives in the United States, so I'm not sure why she's using WhatsApp to contact
Yeah.
me. I guess
That's their target
I guess
demographic. That's their target demographic, dude. It's crazy.
it's
Older.
it's amazing.
Secure.
She yeah. Well, I guess it's secure. Yeah, it's secure and it's encrypted, right? So my mom might be up to some nefarious things, is what I'm trying to say here. Jake, I did want to ask you about that though, because you know, Omar, you just brought up the fact that you know you need to understand your goalkeeper. And do you have, and you don't have to name names or whatever, I don't want you to put anybody on blast or whatever. Do you have certain people where you're like, you know what, I need to sit down with this person, I really need to talk to them about this? And there's other people that are like, you know what, I trust them and I can just leave them be.
For sure. And I think training video and a game video is a lot different as well. I don't think we all have the time in the day to sit down with every goalkeeper we coach to go over every instance that happens. I don't think anyone has enough time to do that. No one wants to do that, first of all, but no one then has enough time to do that. So there's some goalkeepers that I'll sit down and go over some clips with. There's some goalkeepers that I will send all the clips to, and because I know that they'll watch all their clips. There's some goalkeepers that I have to then show them, because maybe they won't watch it without me, show them a select few clips. So for sure. And for games, it's really a similar thing. Depending on the game, it might be, okay, I'll send you the clips that I want you to focus on, and I might have notes on those. And then let's talk about it in a day or two. Or, okay, let's sit down in the moment and I'm going to show you the clips that I want to go over with. Or maybe, okay, I'm going to have all three goalkeepers and I'm going to show you the clips that I want to go over with. It really varies, but for sure, they all enjoy different aspects of it. I don't have one goalkeeper that's exactly the same in that aspect. Luckily, my three goalkeepers, they love doing video. I think all of them, but all of them in their own different way.
I think you know, one thing that was brought up to me, you know, recently, is that, you know, that creation, that regarding of creating that content and then giving them the autonomy to analyze it themselves before you discuss it with them is extremely important, because if you don't know where they're coming from first after watching it, you don't know how much of it actually connected and what they're, or, you know, or what they're missing, you know, because now you're feeding them your point of view without getting their input first. You know, does that make any sense?
Yeah, I think my first question a lot of times is I'll show the clip and then I'll just let it play fully out. You know, I won't say a word. You know, the full clip will play, and then I'll ask them to walk me through what happened. So now they're driving, right? I have the video, but they're driving. They're telling me, okay, stop it now. This is what's happening here. Okay, played a little bit longer. Now this happened. So they're driving. They're telling me what happened. I'm just listening. And a lot of times it's really funny if I wish I could watch it back, is that they'll run around in circles in their own words. Now this happened. Wait, no, maybe it was a little bit different. Maybe I should have done this. I still haven't even said a word. I'm just sitting here listening. I just got a video, and they're explaining to me, okay, I went with my bottom hand. You know, maybe if I was a step deeper, I could have taken one more step. And they're walking through it themselves. And so for them, it's their thing. It's not me. You know, I'm not the important one. They're the important one because they need to improve. I'm just sitting here with a video. So really it's them. It's them driving.
Yeah. You know, and I know Omar, I know speaking of driving, Omar has to start driving. Oh, look at that segue. Because Omar's got to run a session right now, and he's going to show a lot of great video. But Omar, before you go, you know, as we're starting to wrap this up, the question that I want to ask you, because you're in a little bit of a different environment in regards to being and Jake, obviously I know that you do, youth stuff as well too, and then you do privates and all of that stuff. And Omar, I know you do the college stuff, but because of the situation in Southern California, you've been doing more private and small group instruction. Do you feel that from an emotional standpoint, it's very difficult to get a goalkeeper to be honest on their feedback and analysis of their video with you there the first time? And so you'd prefer for them to just see the video and then you just leave it be?
No, I think it's, again, it's how well you are at reading people. Like there are people who would be uncomfortable, for example, if I had the starting goalkeeper and they made a mistake, and then I had the two, number 2 and number 3 in the film session, and I was critiquing them. If I knew the goalkeeper had a very low self-esteem, I wouldn't do that. Like I wouldn't feel comfortable. I wouldn't put them in those situations. Some coaches don't care. They feel like, hey, let's help them grow. Let's help their just kind of like confidence level go up and have them. It's the reality of professional soccer, so we have to do this and that. For me, it's more just like being empathetic towards them and understanding what they feel in those moments. So to answer your question, yes, there are times where I know goalkeepers don't want to be exposed or don't want to have a conversation with me and 2 other people in the room. So I'll just say, hey guys, like today's going to be an individual meeting. I'm going to meet with Alex, and then I'm going to meet with the other guys later on, and then we'll all watch the footage later on together once we have an understanding of like what happened. So again, that's how it was in college. Is just like showing each one of them their own footage in the springtime and in the fall season, and then from there, we have conversations, and I think on the emotional side, understanding where they stand, how they see themselves, are they super confident, are they okay having other people in the room? So I think it's just like a feeling out process, and like I said earlier, it's not like it has to be one way for everybody. Just kind of understanding the EQ and like the people who you work with, and who would feel comfortable in certain situations and who would not be in other situations.
But real quick, because I think I wanted to add on to that, because I was referring more into the regards to the youth environment, because Jake had to discuss the college environment. I meant like, when you're doing a group instruction and you got 4 different goalkeepers who are not on the same team, they're just, I don't want to say randoms, but they're people that have signed up there for the instruction, the educational content from you. Is it a little bit of a different scenario where you're like, well, I can't really show the video of this guy right now in front of these other 3 guys because they don't really all know each other,
Yeah, no, sometimes I have my iPad out there and I'll let them know, hey guys, like when it's your turn to go, I know it's going to take extra 10, 15 seconds, but after you're done with your rep, or if let's say we do a pair and I film both of them, and then the next pair comes in, on that transition from the next pair, I bring the 2 over and let's say one, hey, stretch real quick. I'll tell the other guy, look, I'm going to show you something real quick. This is what I started to notice. Show them the footage so that the next reps they understand. And then the person who was right there, then they come to me, they see their footage. So I try to separate it for sure. Like I don't like to badmouth anybody or try to say anything too much. But after enough sessions with me, the language is developed. And like what Jake said earlier, is like you're really developing that language and using that as a way to reinforce. And then because you've shown them that footage outside or one-on-one in the session, then you can have those conversations and you can actually coach a lot quicker and say 1 or 2 trigger words and know exactly what you're talking about.
What I do is I just stream on Google Chrome from like an iPad straight to like a giant, Samsung TV, that we roll out there, and have all these kids get to see, the mistakes that this goalkeeper just made. No, I don't do that. That's a terrible idea. I hope some parent didn't just listen to that and just go like, well, yeah, I'm never training with that guy. That guy's a disaster. Speaking of,
I do have to
go.
Jake,
do your thing,
see you
dude.
again.
See you, Omar.
Pleasure. We'll see you guys soon.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
All right.
Of course. See you guys.
Bye. Later, Omar. All right. Well, now there was two of us left right here. So Jake, as we're kind of like summing everything up, if you wanted to give like any like last little pieces of advice to any young goalkeeper coaches out there who may have been making mistakes when it comes to using video analysis, like what are like the three main things that you would tell them if you had to give them like bullet points of like, make sure that you hit these three beats when you're doing your analysis. And then you're going to have a successful, film session.
Yeah, I think number one, mistakes are normal. You're not going to get it right away. I think I have more sessions that are poor video than sessions that are good video, and I think that's normal. And over time, you'll get better at that. But it's normal to not be good at it at first. The second one would be that the video should not be the end all. It's a tool. It will help you, but if you're only using the video and you're not trying to teach, if you're not trying to coach in another way, you're missing out on a large part of it. And three, that it takes time. It's not going to the kid, the player is not going to see this video one time and say, okay, I made that mistake, I'm going to be better at it the next time. That's not how video works. It helps them because they're seeing themselves do it, but that's the important part, is it helps them, but you have to then help them fix that. It's not just going to happen just like that.
Yeah. I mean, that's a really good point, man. Well, dude, awesome. Well, thanks first off for taking all the time. I know it's been tough for us to connect because you guys had a season. We haven't had a season yet. You guys had a season, and a reasonably successful one, man. I obviously that last game, did not go the result that you guys wanted, but overall a very successful season. And, I'm sure Laurel's going to go on to some really great things, so we're excited to see, where her journey takes her and all that. If anybody out there, wants to connect with you from an educational standpoint, we want to make sure that is clear from an educational standpoint. Where is the best place for people to connect with you, non-University of Virginia related?
Correct. Thanks for plugging that in, Mike. You're the best. Yeah. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever, any way that you can find me. I try to respond, as Mike knows. Sometimes I get really busy and I just don't text anyone back. So I always try to respond because I love sharing information. So any one of those three works well.
And keep doing your stuff, man. I think it's really beneficial, when coaches out there get to see sessions, run by yourself with such high level goalkeepers. But it's not about all the glitz and the glamour and the flash of how cool this is and look how good these goalkeepers are and stuff like that. I think that's so important. And I also want to say is like, shout out to your goalkeepers, for having the humility to be open and willing to let you, share that. So.
Yeah. I could talk about them for about another 3 hours, but I don't think anyone wants that. So,
well, yeah, I mean, you always got some good ones coming there, guys. Although I did have to rep, Saskia's UCLA.
I know, I noticed that, man. I noticed without her, you still repped it.
I mean, look, shout out to her. Obviously this time of year is a little bit difficult to get everybody on the air together at the same time. There's a lot going on. If for you guys who are listening to this at a different time, we're recording this literally one day before New Year's. So that's how we were able to get Jake on, is we were able to there's no way you could be doing any sort of coaching right now. I'm sure you're home. Let's make it happen. Sure. All right, guys, remember, contact at insidethe18media.com if you have a guest suggestion or a topic suggestion, or at Goalkeeper Podcast on all social media platforms. Shout out to Jake one more time, University of Virginia, for allowing us to make this happen. That is all the time on Inside the 18, and we are out. Later, guys.
Yeah!